They are the levels we will be living under, the rules that will determine what we can and what we can't do. And there was good news for much of the hospitality sector today as it emerged alcohol will be back on the menu indoors across large parts of Scotland from next week. This evening, MSPs have rubber-stamped Nicola Sturgeon's plans for the next stage of the pandemic, but it'll be Thursday before we know for sure which levels are applied to which areas.
But which factors are ministers looking at when they make that decision? Last night we told you how North and South Lanarkshire were both at risk of ending up with the highest level of restrictions. Tonight, our reporter Suzanne Allens returned to one of the area's largest towns to ask whether people there understand why that might happen.
Now then, Donald Trump filed the paperwork to start the process of running for president again, a mere 5 hours and 17 minutes after he was sworn in on the 20th of January 2017. And in many ways, with his love of an audience and huge rallies in particular, he's been campaigning ever since.
But is his time in the White House almost up? Election day is now just a week away, but tens of millions of people have already voted, and Trump remains behind in the polls. Both candidates are now engaged in a frantic final few days, crisscrossing the states where the race is tightest. Here's the BBC's North America editor, John Sopel. The BBC's North America editor, John Sopel there, on the dynamics of the closing stages of this race. Well, we'll be covering the final stages of the battle in depth here on the programme and also on our social media channels. There's the details for you just there. And Martin, you've been catching up with someone who knows Donald Trump pretty well and isn't scared to speak his mind. That's fair enough, isn't it?
No, he's not scared to speak his mind at all. We had a very interesting...
There's some really interesting stuff in there.
Yeah, he's
lots
got
of
opinions.
stuff I'm sure President Donald Trump would disagree with. There's no love lost there.
Yeah, I mean, what Donald Trump might point out, with right to reply, I guess, is that Anthony Scaramucci has had a variety of opinions over time.
Indeed.
Started as a Democrat, became a Republican, fell right in love with the whole Trump thing, and now, as you've heard, is a ferocious opponent of everything. His journey, actually, has been the wild journey.
Yeah.
Trump, he couldn't argue, has steadied a fairly steady course, although it's extreme to many people. Scaramucci's been all over the place in his opinions. But he's worth listening to, and he's been in the room, as they say.
Indeed.
That's for sure.
Well, a week to go, and we shall find out. Now, it's a common belief. If you catch coronavirus once, you can't catch it again. But new research has cast doubt on that. Scientists say the proportion of people with coronavirus antibodies has been falling, suggesting immunity may only last a few months. Researchers at Imperial College London found the number of people testing positive for antibodies dropped by around a quarter between June and September. Naomi Grimley reports. Well, different scientists are interpreting today's report in different ways. You heard a little burst of Eleanor Riley earlier. Let's hear from her again. She's a professor of immunology from the University of Edinburgh. And I asked her whether the findings meant reinfection from coronavirus is possible.
I think
that was Professor Eleanor Riley speaking to me a little earlier. Now, a senior civil servant at the heart of the Scottish Government's botched investigation into harassment complaints against former First Minister Alex Salmond has told MSPs she acted appropriately throughout. Her evidence came as the hearing resumed today for the first time in 5 weeks. Kirsten Campbell reports.
Unlucky to Scotland's women tonight, but still in with the hope of qualifying.
Well, eh?
I know, plenty happening.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, guys.
Now, it was October 1995, 25 years ago, and Jim Murray, a young boxer from Lanarkshire, was fighting to become the British bantamweight champion. His opponent was the reigning champion and fellow Scotsman Drew Doherty.
Jim was leading as he went into the 12th and final round before he collapsed with just 30 seconds of the fight to go. He died 2 days later. His partner...
Now, some news coming to us from our health correspondent, Lisa Summers, while we've been on air. Scotland's largest health board, NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde, has had to close 17 wards to new admissions because of coronavirus outbreaks.
The board said it had reported 21 significant incidents of healthcare-acquired infections to Public Health Scotland. NHS GGC, Greater Glasgow Clyde, said staff were working extremely hard to look after these patients and ensure emergency, trauma and cancer surgery were continuing as well as some elective surgery.
Now, he once held one of the highest political offices in the land. He's been a top law officer and now he's been given one of Scotland's most prominent religious roles. Jim Wallace is going to be the Church of Scotland's next moderator.
Yeah, he takes up the role at a critical time for the Kirk. Before the pandemic hit, it was already considering measures to boost congregations and make itself run more efficiently. So, from politics, via the law, to the church. Here's a quick look back at what has been a varied career. Wednesday, that's my advice. 8-metre swells. That's bad news for everybody. Bad news indeed. That is it, though, from us for tonight. We're back, same time, same place tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching. Good night.